Hey everybody, it's Ian the Off Kilter Crafter. I hope you're having a great day today. Today I'm going to be making this clean and simple Halloween card. I kind of got inspired the last time I used this stamp set and have been mulling it over in my brain how to make this happen, and I think I did it justice, and I'm actually really surprised with how well this worked. So let's go ahead and see how I put this card together. For today's card, I'm going to be using the Close to My Heart stamp set that is Cats and Bats. I'm going to be using this one again. You saw this one like a week or two ago, I think. And I got a great idea for what to do with this boo sentiment, so I'm going to be using this to really base my entire card off of today. And today I'm going to be using two types of paper, one as a mask and one for the actual card itself. This is Nina Desert Storm cardstock, which is 100 pounds. Well, in this one it is 100 pounds. I think you can get it for less pounds. But anyways, this is Nina Desert Storm 100-pound cardstock, and this is going to be what my card is going to be going on to today because I'm doing a one-layer clean and simple card, right? So this is pretty much what everything's going to end up going on. I'm not even going to create a card panel for this one. This piece of paper is just a scratch piece of paper. It's a little heavier than copyweight paper, but a little lighter than regular cardstock. So I'm using this as my mask to create my card with today. So the first step is I'm going to be using the die from the boo to cut out a section of this scrap paper. Okay, what I've done here is I've gone ahead and gotten my die cut where I think I'm going to want it to cut out at. And I'm going to end up stamping the actual stamp through this die cut, or the missing part whenever we get to that step. You'll see what I mean. I think I'm making it a little more complicated by telling you what's going on, but I think you'll understand what's going on once I actually get this going. So I've placed it where I want it to be on my finished piece, on my finished panel. So I'm going to use this and die cut it. I'm using my Cricut Cuttlebug to cut out my die here. Always makes horrible sounds whenever you're cutting into a new plate. Don't worry about that, it's supposed to do that. So now I can take this part out and use this part as my mask. Okay, now that I have my mask, what I'm going to do is place it over my cardstock here for the actual card itself. And everything's been cut down to a standard A2 size card. So this is, the white one is 4 1/4 by 5.5, and then the Desert Storm is, I can't think and talk at the same time. I don't know why. Anyways, 4 1/4 by 5.5, so this is 4 1/4 by 11. I went ahead and taped up here at the top to protect the rest of my card, because if I was to go over this, this would end up on the back side of my card, which I don't want. So I went ahead and taped everything up. Remember, whenever taping on a Ken Oliver mat, it's not going to stay very well. But that's not really why I am taping on the mat. It's just an easy placeholder. I'm using Destress Oxides because they show up well on this cardstock. If you use Distress inks, the inks would get changed, their color would get changed a little bit because the Desert Storm is not a white cardstock. That's what I really love about the Distress Oxides, is that they will stand up and stand out on darker cardstocks. I'm using Wilted Violet, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off and slowly move my way onto the cardstock here. And if I use circle motions, it could end up pulling those wavy bits of the die cut. So I really kind of want to more wisp it on from the bottom, kind of like what I'm doing. It's not going to give me the same quite of coloring that I would like from like being able to go in circles like that, but I think it'll still give me an effect that I'm looking for, and it might even make it a little more spooky looking. Okay, there we go. I think I got the look I was going for. I forget if I actually told you what colors I'm using, but in case I didn't, Wilted Violet and Twisted Citron and Destress Oxides. All right, let's go ahead and pull up this mask and see what we reveal. Always remember when you're pulling up from cardstock, do it at a very sharp angle because it tends to not pull on the cardstock. This white mask doesn't really matter because that's just going in the trash anyways. So there we go. Okay, I like that a lot. I think that's gonna look really, really great for this card. I am going to go ahead and hit it with my heat tool just to make sure that it is fully dry because we're gonna be doing some heat embossing in just a moment. So let's make sure that this is totally set and dry before we do the heat embossing. Now I could do something like the water effects where I take my mister and splash some water on there and then remove it, but I think because of how small this area is, I don't want to do that. I really want to make sure that it gives as much impact as possible. So we're just going to leave it the way it is, but we're going to be adding on our stamping on top of that, so let's pull out our stamp tools. Alright, let me grab my stamp here. And I pulled out my Tim Holtz stamp platform so that way I can get it all lined up and stamp it as many times as I need to. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay the stamp on top of where I think it best fits, and it's a little hard. My head may get in the way during this process because I really want to make sure it's all lined up. I think that's as lined up as it's going to get for today. I'm going to go ahead and pick it up. And it looks like there's a little bit of an impression already left in the ink there, and it looks like it is pretty well centered, so that's cool. I'm going to use my anti-static powder tool just to make sure that none of the embossing powder sticks where I don't want it to stick, so I'm just going to go ahead and apply that on and make sure it is all ready to go. Christina Warner would do this cool thing where she would probably test this panel out and make sure that everything's going to work the way that she wants it to. I'm a little more adventurous. We're just going to go with it and see how well it works. To stamp out today, I'm going to use VersaFine ink because it has that really crisp, it gives you a really crisp image. And especially since this one has some smaller details in it, I really want to make sure all those details are not lost whenever I'm stamping it out. And that's why I put it in my stamp platform as well, to make sure that if I need to stamp it again, I can. It stamps pretty well, but I am going to go ahead and hit it again just to be on the safe side. I'm going to hit it again with another layer of ink. That did really well, so I'm going to grab my embossing powder now, and we're going to emboss this with clear embossing powder from Ranger and get it all heated up and ready to go. Now unfortunately some of my grains of embossing powder, you can't probably see it on camera at this very moment, but they didn't quite stick where they should have, and you know, even using the embossing tool or the embossing buddy, whatever you want to call this, it didn't quite take away all of that. So there is a little bit of embossing powder that's still stuck in there. This is good, but I want to add even more on there. I really want to make sure that this is kind of raised. So I am going to sandwich some more ink in between the next layer of embossing powder, so that way it's raised up and really hopefully gives me that deep embossing powder look that I'm looking for. So I'm going to add another layer of ink and then embossing powder, and we're going to heat that up again. There we go. There is everything embossed once again, and it gives me a really nice kind of thick impression, so I really like that a lot. Perfect for what I'm going for. Next up, I'm going to do a spider web up in the top corner of my card, and I'm going to be using some more of that VersaFine ink to do that. I think this might be the last one. I'm not 100% sure, but I am not going to be doing the embossing powder on this. I just want this as an accent piece on it. I really want your eyes to be drawn to the boo, so I'm going to do it that way. Lastly to this, I'm going to add the little spider on here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask off the top of where I don't want that to go. Where's my, hold on. What I've done is just taken a little piece of scrap paper, and I'm using that as a mask because I don't want the line of the spider to A, cross over the card, and B, I also don't want it to go past where the spider web is. So we're just gonna ink it up like that and get it ready to stamp. As you can see here, I just barely missed my target. That always seems to happen, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Copic multi-liner and just kind of try and fix that a little bit so that way it looks like it's supposed to be attached, kind of like that. I know that would be something that only I would see and like it wouldn't bother anybody else, but I just want to try and make sure for my own sanity that it gets fixed, and all it takes is just a little futzing and you got it. Now to finish this off, all we have to do is bend over. I've already scored it at 5.5, so it is all scored and ready to go. All I have to do is just bend it over and we are done. I've gotten pretty inky today, but that's okay. But this is today's card. So there we go. There is today's card. I really like how the embossing came out on it, and even though the embossing ended up going in places I didn't want it, it kind of adds a little bit more texture to it, and I kind of like that. Sometimes clean and simple cards actually are not time consuming and go together rather easily, just like with this one, and I'm very happy that I did, and I love the results as well. I think that's going to do it for today's video. If you like today's video, give it a thumbs up, let YouTube know that you like my video, and then hopefully YouTube will then share it across YouTube land. Also guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button and click the bell notification icon to get great updates every time I post a new video or go live. You can also get social with me by joining me over on my social media links. Those are listed down in the description below. They include Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and more. Make sure to go over there and say hello. I hope everybody has a great day, and remember guys, normal's just a setting on the dryer. Bye!